Hi folks, thank you for joining us again for our third episode in this little series. I'm very pleased to have Joyce with me today, and as usual I'm just going to bombard her with a load of questions and just find out a wee bit about her life. So how's the lockdown been going for you? Been finding it easy enough to pass the time?
Yeah, no problem there. I'm quite good at doing nothing.
Have you been discovering any new hobbies or new skills at all?
Not really.
No.
Just been baking a bit more and taking it to some of the older folk.
That's not a new skill for you though.
No.
No. I think that's when it actually comes in handy being a totally useless human being like myself. But there's loads of new skills I can learn, so it's quite easy to pass the time. Anyway, we'll crack on with the proper business. We want to learn a wee bit about your life. So from what I can gather, you grew up in Kilmarnock, which my mother tells me is the centre of the universe. You might have a slightly different version of events. But maybe could you tell us a wee bit about the area that you grew up in and what it was like?
I was brought up in Short Leys. It was quite a new scheme when we moved there. It was a brand new house, so it was a new scheme, so it was fine. Short Leys was quite tame at that time.
All right, okay.
Growing up there as a child was fine, but I think in latter years, since I've moved away, it's maybe got a wee bit rougher, but it's a lovely place to grow up.
And what was your family like? I know you've got one brother. Have you got other brothers and sisters as well?
I've got an older brother and sister and a younger brother.
Right.
So my older brother and sister, they started off life in my grandmother's house after the war. My mother and father got married and I lived there, and then eventually got a house in Short Leys, and that's where I was born, Short Leys.
And were you a well-behaved child?
Sometimes.
Maybe depends who you ask. And from what I can gather, your family weren't Christians. Were they churchgoers at all?
Yeah, my father's mother was in the Salvation Army. She wore the uniform, so he was brought up in the Salvation Army. And my mother went to the Church of Scotland, and she did take us there, and I was christened. So.
Okay. And so, when was your first sort of real contact with the message of the gospel then?
The place I went to in Kilmarnock had a outreach in Short Leys, and a community centre. They had a Sunday school, and I went there from when I was very young, so I'm kind of assuming that my big sister took me.
Right.
But I went to the Sunday school there, and they also had children's meetings, and I went to them as well on a Monday night.
And I take it was that kind of similar to how we would have maybe children's meetings and things today, so you would have some singing and a Bible story and a quiz and sweeties being thrown out.
Yeah, exactly. I probably wasn't the best behaved at the children's meeting. I was thrown out a couple of times for carrying on.
So you went along to that from when you were just a little kid.
Yeah.
And so what age were you when you actually became a Christian then?
10, nearly 11.
And how did that come about then? How did you get to that point?
There was two older girls who lived in Short Leys as well, and I used to walk home with them. It's kind of halfway. I lived beyond where they stayed, and I liked to kind of ask them awkward questions. And I said to them, "You're saying that God knows all about our lives and the beginning to end." I said, "If I was to step out in front of a bus, God would know I was going to do that." And I didn't get the answer I thought. They just said, "If you stepped out in front of a bus, where would you go?" And that really shook me. In fact, I was terrified to get home, crossing the roads, until I got to my own house. And then I went to my room, and my sister shared the room with me. So I was lying there, and it really troubled me because I knew that if I died, I would go to hell. and I didn't get out of my bed or go on my knees or anything like that. My sister would have been wondering what was going on. But I just lay in my bed and I said, God, I don't really know how to pray, but I know I'm a sinner and I'll go to hell, but I know Jesus died for me. Will he take away my sins? And that was it. And to that day, until this, I have no worries about dying, because I know if I die, I'll go to heaven.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that.
That was a great answer from the two girls to your
Was,
awkward question.
uh-huh.
It's amazing how God can use different people, not just the preachers and these kind of folks. So
I don't really know when it sunk in how you could get saved, but obviously years of going to Sunday school and children's meetings, I knew.
yeah. And how did your family and your friends take that news? Was it a big deal to them, or did they not bother?
I just really tried to live the life, and that was it. My mum didn't object to me going to the meetings, so I just went, but she certainly didn't want me to get baptised or anything like that.
Right.
There was a family down the road who were in the assembly, and I think she thought, well, that's not the kind of life I want for her, but things changed.
And so it was Elam Hall that you went along to in Kilmarnock, and that's where you got baptised and eventually became a member of the church there.
When I asked to get baptised at first, my mum said, no, you've been christened. But when I got to 15, I asked her again, and I left school at 15. Everybody left school at 15 if they went to junior secondary. And she says, well, if you're old enough to leave school, you're old enough to make your own mind up. So,
and what did you do when you left school then?
I went to catering college for 3 years down in here. Right. So it kind of stood me in good stead because I was able to cook at camps and things like that. So I did that for quite a number of years. Okay. 2 camps every summer.
Would that have been like the Ayrshire camp, as it would have been called, or?
I did the Ayrshire camp, and then I did the Postal Sunday School camp, and also Perth camp that we had before we had the Bible study weeks. So right. I would probably do 2 camps every summer.
And what was it then that brought you eventually to Perth? Was that with work, or?
Well, no, really. There was a family in the meeting in Kilmarnock called the Reeves, and they had moved to Perth, and I used to come up and visit them, and I thought, oh, this would be quite a nice place to stay. So they put me up for a year, and then part of their house that they had rented out to 2 teachers became available, so moved in there.
So, what age were you at that point then when you moved here?
About 22.
Right.
So stayed in Perth 9 years at that time.
So did you move away from Perth then after that?
Yeah. When I was about 25, I decided to retrain, and I did home economics. So I went to Duncan Jordanson College of Art, and after I had qualified, and I was working in Perth just on temporary jobs. I taught at Perth College for a wee while, and I worked at Kincarity House, old folks' home, and sadly after that my mother died. She was only 54, and I was down visiting my dad, and I had gone into the job centre and saw that they were looking for staff at a Bernardo's school. So I applied to be a care assistant there, but when they saw my qualifications, I got the job as a domestic bursar.
Okay.
So I worked there for 6 years, and then it closed, and that's how I ended up back in Perth.
Oh, that wasn't the same place as that Colin and Alison worked in, was it?
Right. Yeah, that's
it was. Oh well, that's going back to last week's interview with Colin. A few years into your time in Perth, you had an interesting trip to Africa as well.
Well, that's right. And when I was younger, I met a missionary called Elsie Moore from Pakistan, I worked in a Christian guest house in Oban, and I met her there. And at that time, I kind of felt, there's a lot wanting me to serve them abroad. So when I was 25, before I started studying for home economics, my pal Mary and I decided that we just go and see what it's like to serve the Lord abroad. So we went to Botswana for 6 weeks. It was a wonderful time, but funding it was going to be a problem. I remember praying to the Lord, even if the car's to go, I'm willing to do that, to go to Africa. And the next morning I went outside the house and the car had been stolen. I said, Lord, that's a bit ridiculous. But, fortunately, the police brought it back. Some tinkers had stolen it to get out to their site out in the Crieff Road. Sometimes the Lord just takes you at your word.
So what was the trip to Botswana like then? Were you helping out with different aspects of the work?
Well, my pal was a nurse, so she was able to help them in the medical work. But I just did things like counting tablets and rehanging pit toilet doors, and it was really exciting. And the missionaries had been invited to meet the Queen. She was over in Botswana, so a lot of exciting things happened. And we spoke at the girls' class and things like that. And it just was a wonderful experience.
You mentioned Mary there, and I suppose Christian friendship's a very important thing and very helpful thing. And God's obviously given you a very good friend in Mary. How did you actually? Did you just meet? Was Mary in Perth already when you arrived?
Well, she was friendly with the family that I had rented the house from. But when I came to Perth at first, she was away doing her midwifery training down in Ashington. And I was sharing with another girl, but she was getting married, so I was going to need somebody to share the rent. So when Mary finished her training, she came up to Perth, and that was 40 years ago.
You've been sharing the house ever since?
Aye, yeah. It's fine. I like cooking and she likes doing washing and ironing. It's a great arrangement. Perfect.
And here's a question. You always seem to get on so well. Do you ever fall out?
Yes. Quite often.
And I suppose over the years you've been able to do a lot of work for God alongside Mary, like you're saying about the trip to Africa, but also another thing that I wanted to touch on was the girls' class that you used to run. And that continued for quite a few years, didn't it?
A lot of years, yeah. I actually had my first girls' class when I was in Kilmarnock. Started with one girl in my room at home. Then there was a few more girls, and a friend in Kilmarnock, they had a bigger house, and we used to cram all these girls into a Morris Minor and go to her bit. So we had a girls' class in Kilmarnock. Right. When I moved to Perth, started a girls' class, and it was just all girls around about Craigie, and it was fine. They just made their way there. But after we moved away back down to Ayrshire, when I worked at the Bernardo's school, had a girls' class there, and these were all girls for the village, and there was a kind family with a minibus who used to help bring them up. Colin's wife, she helped with the girls' class as well. So then when we moved back to Perth again, started another girls' class. Initially it started with the Good News Club down in the Craigie Community Centre, and it was fine because all the girls were from Craigie and they just made their own way here.
Yeah. I've obviously never been to a girls' class, so what I don't know if it's top secret stuff, but what actually happens at it?
It developed as the years went on. The reason I had girls' classes was that when I was a girl, the family down the road phase, they had a girls' class, and I really enjoyed it and appreciated it, and I thought, well, that's something maybe I could do. So there, the girls' class I went to, they did sewing and things like that, and I'm not really into that kind of thing. So basically what we did was, we'd have folk teams, and was very competitive, and we'd have quizzes and stories and lots of singing. And in the summer nights we would go out and play games in the garden and things like that. That was good fun.
And that was teenage girls?
Yes, primary 7 up. At one stage we had older girls, so we had 2 girls' classes in the same night. We'd start at 6:30 to 7:30 with the younger ones, and then the older ones come in at 7:30. They were together for supper and things like that, and the younger ones went away, and the older ones stayed on.
Mm. Teenage girl?
Yeah. We also had a crowd came from Dundee. Mary's sister brought them up, and her sister-in-law. But this room's not really equipped for 30 girls, so we started a girls' class in Dundee as well for a while.
Right. Teenage girls are quite a tough crowd, I would imagine.
Not really, no.
Nah.
I think with households where the telly's on all the time, and there's not that much conversation, they actually just thrive in being in somebody's house that wants to listen to them talking, and it's been great.
Yeah. So not too many tears and tantrums then?
Not really, no.
And what would you say, looking back on that, what would you say would be the most encouraging aspect of that work?
For the girls whose parents were Christians, it was quite nice for them to be able to kind of develop on their own, and it's good that since they've got married and moved on, that they're doing much for the Lord elsewhere. And we've got Kelly and Louise who were contacted through the girls' class as well, so they're in the meeting in Perth now. So it's quite nice to see folk having gone on for the Lord.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on from the girls' class, the teenagers, to the toddlers. I don't know if there's much difference with that groups, but another activity that I've not really been involved in, but you've been quite heavily involved in the Little Treasures Toddlers group. Oh,
it's really great. They're wee characters. They come as babies, and then when they're 3, they graduate, and it's just all good fun.
And again, I've not really been to the toddlers. I try and avoid it at all costs. But what sort of things actually happens at that then?
When the kids come in, there's loads of toys and things laid out, so they start playing, and then they do a craft. I don't get involved in that. And then they have their snack, and the mums, grannies, carers, grandpas, they have a puppy as well. Then we'll have a bit of singing and a wee story time and a bit more singing, and that's it.
And there's been lots and lots of folk from the community that have come along to that over the years as well.
That's right. It's great to meet them all. Yeah.
It's good. And you're still keeping in touch with them at the moment, although we're not able to have the toddlers due to the lockdown.
We call it Toddlers through the letterbox. So basically, we post a film of a Bible story and a song, and we send out a craft that goes along with that, and a balloon or a sweetie or something like that in it as well. So it's been quite good because they've been sending back pictures of their crafts and that the kids have been doing it, and we've had 2 or 3 sessions where we're taking our songs from toddlers. So Mary gets a guitar out, so we do a bit of singing. So apparently the kids are quite enjoying that, and they're singing along. So it's good fun.
I've seen some of that. I've enjoyed it as well, actually. What's the most popular songs with the kids nowadays then? Still the wheels on the bus go round and round?
All the wheels on the bus, yeah. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Who made the twinkling stars? I like them all, really. I like the ones that we use wee animals and puppet things to do the actions with as well.
There was one that was on last week that I hadn't heard before. It was something to do with ducks.
5 little ducks went swimming one day. Well, that's a favourite.
We'll not ask you to give a rendition of it just now. But
in fact, one of the helpers, Marion, she has ducks at her place, and when the wee chicks are on the go, a couple of times she's brought them in and let the kids play with the chicks, and it's all been good fun.
That's a great work. And then moving to the opposite end of the age spectrum, you're also quite involved in helping with some of the older ladies in the church.
That started quite strangely. One of the ladies, her husband had dementia, and Mary used to go with her to the care home, and they would take, Kathy and her husband out for a coffee, and then they invited Isabel, and then when I retired, that was another car, and we started to invite some of the other ladies. So we just go out for a coffee and a blather, or lunch and a blather.
Is that sort of once a week or a couple of times a week that you normally go?
The main trip out is on a Monday. We would take most of them, and a Tuesday we would just go with 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, it's great to give them the opportunity to get out and about and have company with one another, I suppose.
Especially the ones who used to drive as well. You know, it's quite difficult for them having to get their own cars and they can't drive just to get out and about.
Yeah. Where's the most popular destination for lunch then?
Well, we go to Glendoick quite a bit, but sometimes we go out for picnics as well if the weather's okay. They love that. Down to Inferno and just different places.
And who's the biggest troublemaker in the group out of the old ladies?
I couldn't say.
Just in case they're watching.
The thing is, it's not. We don't see that as a work because some of these older ladies were really good to us when we were young, and it's just really the paying the compliment.
Yeah, no, a great bunch. So we'll kind of draw things towards a close, just with some more general reflections on your life. You were diagnosed with MS at one point. Maybe tell us a wee bit about that.
I moved back up to Perth, just probably about 6 months after I arrived here. I developed symptoms of MS, and a year later it was properly diagnosed. So that was actually a bit of a blow. At that time I couldn't use my right hand, and so I was having to type everything at my work and all the rest of it. So the symptoms come and go, but it really was challenging at the time, and I wasn't fit enough to do camps and things like that anymore, but just kept going.
And how has your faith sort of helped you cope with that illness then?
Well, I just realised that nothing happens to any of us that's not in God's plan, and I think having the MS sort of really caused me to decide that right, Perth was where I was going to be. I wasn't fit to be going looking for other jobs because you better hold on to what you've got when you can. And no, the Lord has still used us and blessed us in that time, and as long as you accept that it's from Him,
yeah,
you can cope.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be a help and encouragement to maybe some who are watching, who are experiencing similar sort of things. So
But the Lord doesn't let anything happen to us for no reason at all, and I might not know the whole reason until I get to heaven. But
good. And have you got a favourite Bible verse?
Yeah, I would say Romans 10 and 9. When I got saved at first, I told my Sunday school teachers that I had got saved, and they said, "Who have you told?" I says, "I've just told you." You really tell people, because Romans 10 and 9 says that if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, you'll be saved. And I just realised that it wasn't enough just to accept him in my heart. I had to tell other people about it.
What would be your, kind of looking back and reflecting on your experiences then, what would be your main piece of advice to maybe a young Christian about the Christian life?
Speak to God about things. That was always a highlight of the girls' class. When they came along, we would say to them, "Is there anything you want us to pray about?" And I think just learning that if there's difficulties and problems, you speak to God about it. Some folk think they need to tell everybody about it and share their problems with everyone, and they forget to tell God about it. So But that would be my main thing, discuss it with God.
It's very wise counsel.
And read your Bible. Some folk have all sorts of reading plans and all the rest of it, but I just start with Genesis and work through it and read a chapter every day. Until you've read your Bible a few times, it's maybe a good idea to read a chapter in the Old Testament, a chapter in the New Testament.
So just to kind of wrap things up a little bit, what have you been missing most during the lockdown then? And what are you most looking forward to doing when it's finished?
Meeting up with my family. They're all down in Ayrshire and I quite miss seeing them at this time, so I'll be looking forward to that. And looking forward to getting back with the Toddlers, because they're great fun. And looking forward to meeting up with all the Christians again.
How have you found the experience?
Fine.
Good. We'll maybe get Mary on at some point as well. She can give us the other side of the story.
Well, I just got a very interesting story. Far more interesting than mine.
Well, we'll wait and see. But thanks to everyone for joining us again, and join us again next week, and we'll have somebody else to interview.